Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I will be reviewing the horror movie The Babadook, directed by Jennifer Kent. Now, as most of you already know, the majority of horror movies released today are usually pretty bad. I think one of the main problems with today's horror movies is that they focus too much on the scares and not the story itself. They also forget that if their story isn't going to be deep and intriguing, then they should at least try to be fun like most horror movies were in the 80s. The Babadook is without a doubt one of the best horror movies that I have seen in a while. The movie is about a widowed mother. While on her way to the hospital to give birth to her son, she gets in a car crash and her husband dies. So now she no longer has a husband and she's burdened with the responsibility of a son. But her son is pretty crazy and starts telling her stories about a creature called the Babadook when a mysterious book shows up on the bookshelf that she reads to her son at night. She starts to go more and more insane as her annoying little kid keeps telling her about the Babadook, and eventually she starts seeing it. This is one of those horror movies that actually knows that the story is more important than the scares. You could actually take away the horror aspect from this film and you'd still have an intriguing story. But this movie knows that it can use the story to make it scarier and not the monster itself. I really liked the way they portrayed the mother and son relationship in this movie. Most movies with a mother and son relationship is usually about the mother's bond to her child, while in this movie it's actually very different because you can tell that the mother is very stressed out and very annoyed by her kid. You can tell that deep down inside she kind of likes her son, but for the most part he's driving her crazy. I'm not sure on the name of the actress who played the mother in this film, but she is a really good actor and you can just feel her pain throughout this movie. This is definitely a movie filled with a lot of metaphors, a lot of symbols. It's definitely going to make you think really hard about what it all means. The Babadook itself represents all the grief, all the despair that the mother has been building up all these years and how it's starting to take control of her. I think that is a really clever idea because most horror movies the monster is just that, a monster, while in this one you have to think a lot harder about what it represents. Even though this movie isn't really that bloody or graphic, it's still a very disturbing horror movie, and I think it's because this movie makes it feel like this is something that could happen to you. If you had a husband that died and you were stuck with this annoying kid, then you probably would start going insane too. As I said before, the actress who plays the mother in this movie does an amazing job and you can just see all of the despair that she's been going through. I also really loved the design of the monster in this film. I mean, we really haven't had a clever design for a monster in quite some time because lots of horror movies try to pay homage to another movie, and because of them playing homage to another movie monster, it really doesn't feel too original. It's a really creepy looking monster. You barely ever see its face. It's got like that signature top hat and these like sharp claw hands. He had some really creepy scenes in this movie. I especially like the scene where the mother's sitting down and watching old black and white movies and you just see the Babadook for a few seconds in each scene. And I also liked that to tell the tale of the Babadook they used a children's pop-up book, because we learn so much from children's books, and if you look deeply into the meaning of the book in this film, it does have a message to it. Also, while normally I hate the really gray and dreary look to films like in Man of Steel, it actually worked really well here because it makes it look like it came straight out of the book. One of the things that kind of bothers me about this film though is the fact that a lot of the reviews for this movie said that it had a happy ending, and while it is a kind of happy ending in my eyes, it was also very disturbing. This is a very confusing movie, but you can tell that it has a good message to it. It's not just trying to be deep so it looks like a better movie than it is. I also heard that people who don't watch a lot of horror movies didn't really like this movie, and I think that's because they just didn't really get what true horror was. When you think of horror movies, you think of jump scares, murders, stuff like that. Well, this really isn't what you think of when you think of a horror movie because it has much more to it than that. But overall, I do recommend this movie. It's a very different kind of horror movie, but it does know what true horror is. If you're a horror movie fan, then definitely check it out. I'm Neil Schmidt and I thank you guys for watching. If you liked this video, please like the video or subscribe to my channel. I have a ton of other reviews on my channel, including a podcast I just did, and I will be uploading more reviews very soon. Thanks again.